The following is a YouTube-based audio production, brought to you by J.E. Realize. Inspiration for a video can come from weird places. Starting last April, I was on a YouTube animator binge because I had no job and I was discouraged from going outside. By the government this time. Recall Newsom! Just kidding, he's alright. I thought about the idea of making my own videos in that style, but one night I was watching a video from this one guy. What was his name again? I think he looked like a Steven Universe character. Anyway, he had a video about weird and obscure shows he remembered as a kid. It was a nice video, but as I was scrolling through the comments looking for shoutouts for Super Robot Monkey Team Hyperforce Go, I thought about not only the obscure shows that I watched when I was little, but about the obscure shows that I wanted to watch, but didn't. Maybe I didn't have the bad time, maybe I didn't have the bad channel. Either way, I missed them, and now I'm making a video about them. So here are 10 shows I wanted to watch when I was younger. These are not co-signed to any time period. These are just shows I had interest in, but never got to watch, and in some cases may never get to. So in the words of ex-ambassadors, let's begin. The Life and Times of Juniper Lee. This show popped up about in the mid to late 2000s on Cartoon Network. But here's the thing about that. I didn't grow up with cable. If I was lucky, I grew up with satellite, but besides that, nothing else but local channels. In the case of Cartoon Network, I'd catch glimpses of it from time to time up until 2012, when I started becoming a regular. On my 18th birthday. Way to spend your first birthday of your adult life. Supposedly, it's one of those Sabrina shows. You know, the one with the girl who realizes she has magic powers and tries to hide them from everyone else? Yeah, those kinds of shows. From what I heard, the show was only okay, so that's keeping me from watching it anytime soon. Strawberry Shortcake, the early 2000s series. It's only now that I realize how gender neutral I was as a kid. Sure, I didn't wear dresses or skirts, because that's career suicide, but I unironically watched and loved Sailor Moon as a kid. Saying that, when I heard Deke was coming out with this thing and saw the cast, mainly that it had a boy character, which in my kid mind automatically assumed meant that the show was good for boys, I had an urge to watch it. But for some reason or other, I didn't. Although saying that, I'm not watching the modern version. Something about watching a remake of a show you wanted to watch as a kid rubs me the wrong way. Buffy the Vampire Slayer. No idea why I put this on my list. I heard everyone talk about the show in elementary school, but I just didn't want to watch it. So I didn't. The end. Fringe. I barely know what this series is about. Something about a lot of science fiction concepts, then the main character disappears and everyone thinks he's gone except for one who sees him as a ghost. Then he comes back, I don't know. It sounds interesting enough, and I wanted to watch it from the first season, but I had no idea how. I didn't have access to on-demand, and had no idea how to spot reruns. I'd probably one day go and watch it. Unless it's on Hulu. Seriously! It advertises itself as being run by aliens who want to eat your brains. It literally calls itself, and I quote, an evil plot to destroy the world. And I'm supposed to, as they say, enjoy? Are they mad? She-Zow. I was a bit weird at times. Have you heard of the channel Discovery Family? No? No, don't lie to me. You watch My Little Pony Friendship is Magic. That's a Discovery Family show. Anyway, before it was called Discovery Family, it was called The Hub. For a time, I was on and off it, and was fairly interested in R.L. Stine's The Haunting Hour. But there was this one show I heard of, but I never caught a glimpse of it, even on Hub commercials. It sort of popped up and disappeared while I didn't have the free trial. But I would have wanted to see it. Earlier in my YouTube career, I had an idea for a series where I would watch and react to shows with really weird concepts. That idea only got the light of day once in early 2018, and I never revisited it. But a show with a girl superhero who's actually a guy in crossplay would definitely fit the theme. And I doubt it'll be worse than Magical Girl Dallas. Oops, I shouldn't have said that. Lockie Leonard. Australian surfing Disney XD? Sure, why not? This was an import for early Disney XD. You know, before it went heavy on Gravity Falls. You had a lot of live-action stuff like Aaron Stone, Kickin' It, Pair of Kings, Zeke and Luther, and then this one. I'd see commercials for this show all the time on Disney XD, but I'd never be able to see it. I hate teases. Though I'll make an exception for the Dita Von variety. I never got to catch the show before it got pulled off and stored away forever. It wasn't until later when I realized that this show, unlike all the other Disney XD content, only showed in the mornings. and being a Pacific Time resident in an Eastern Time biased country, there was no way I would have woken up that early unless it was to watch the World Cup. And even then I had to do chores to compensate. Pacific Time problems, am I right? The Sarah Jane Adventures. I'm only putting this on the list because I watched Doctor Who, I watched Torchwood, or at least the first 3 seasons, and the Whoniverse had the biggest crossover that side of Infinity War between these two and this show. The 3 shows were essentially for different age groups. Doctor Who was for general audiences, Torchwood was for mature audiences, Sarah Jane was for kids. That alone made me too concerned to watch it, despite me being interested in it, but then there was the fact that Sarah Jane's actor died before a season could be completed, and I just didn't feel right going into it. Call me a sicko, but I would have preferred the show continue with a different actor playing the role, or an animated series. I just like seeing a story completed, that's just me. Game of Thrones.
Sleep on a balcony, watch a bit of GOT, and we won't feel alone.
The first I heard of this show was around the mid-2010s, but I never got around to see it because I don't have HBO. HBO is expensive, kids! Things would change, and I don't mean getting HBO. I still don't have it. At one point in my life, I thought, why watch an ongoing show with an engaging story if there's no guarantee of the show ending anytime soon? After all, so many shows were prematurely cancelled, and others had their final seasons rushed to fit all the resolution in. Sound familiar? So I put it off, and I'm glad I did. If the series was going to end in a train wreck, it was good that I didn't get emotionally invested in it. Now, if only I can say the same for other shows. MasterChef. There was one point, more like several, where I was a fan of the US version of Hell's Kitchen. Heck, last year I binge-watched all the way to season 18. That's commitment. So when I heard about this other cooking show, MasterChef, I was a bit intrigued. I heard about the commercials when the show was starting to air, but I missed the first episode and so decided not to pursue it. Although saying that, I figured out that MasterChef would probably be a different beast to Hell's Kitchen pretty early on. Though one thing got me close to watching it. There was a commercial advertising an episode where the top prize of the episode was a guaranteed spot in the Final 4. That episode was held around the Final 10. Granted, it's unlikely the lucky winner would make it to the Final 3, considering what happens in Hell's Kitchen if an immunity prize was offered, but it would have been fun to see. Our Little Genius. This 2010 game show from Fox is the last on my list, and most certainly not least, for reasons I'll get into. I was a bit more interested in game shows around that time period, especially in this one GSN show called Whammy Press Your Luck, which is a fun game show in my opinion. I'd watch stuff like The Money List, $1 Million Money Drop, Downfall, with Le Champion as your host, and of course classics like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. I'd even fantasize about going on Are You Smarter Than a 5th Grader and winning it all. I could do that today. But not because they got rid of the $1 million prize. But the missing jewel from this crown was Our Little Genius. It was essentially about kid geniuses competing against adults to win money for their parents. Imagine Alexis Martin being a future contestant on that show. She could give IBM Watson a run for his money. But when I tuned in on the night, it didn't show. Turns out Fox had the show pulled due to integrity concerns, because game shows have a history. And now my only option was American Idol, so I went to bed because that's not my thing. I really wish I could watch at least what was supposed to air, just to know what I'm missing. But all I have was the commercial. Rest in peace. You are not meant for this world. Well, that was fun. Since this is the end of the video, you'd probably expect me to say something along the lines of, I should really track down these shows and see what I was missing. No, not really. While I should in some cases, I have a feeling some of these shows would not look well based on what I've already watched. But you never know unless you try. Don't let me stop you. This is J.E. Realize. Do the feedback thing. Like, comment, subscribe, or dislike. You're protected under the First Amendment, so long as you don't have other gods before him. Check out my Twitter, @JERealize. I'll see you next time, and there will be a next time. One more thing you should know. I tried donating blood last Friday, but got turned away due to having a slight fever. I'm waiting on more information, but don't expect quality videos for a while. Anyway, I'll see you soon. This concludes our YouTube-based audio production. I hope you enjoy, and I wish you farewell.